So this video is based on ethics and it is for GCSE business studies. In the video, we'll be considering examples of ethics, why it's important for firms to be ethical, examples of unethical behaviour and why firms choose not to focus on ethical objectives. So to begin with, what is ethics? Well, ethics are the moral principles that govern a person or a firm's behaviour, or the conducting of an activity. So I like this quote by Anita Roddick, and she was the creator of The Body Shop. And The Body Shop's vision was always to be organic and sustainable and to offer cosmetics which have not been tested on animals. And she said being good is good business. So it makes you think, well, why are all firms ethical then? And this quote might provide reason as to why. Because being ethical can sometimes be expensive. It can result in higher costs. For example, if we consider chocolate brands, those that are fair trade, that'll mean higher costs associated with the workers extracting the cocoa. Or if we consider firms that use more sustainable material, well, that'll be higher variable costs. So some firms' unique selling point is actually their selling price and being the cheapest on the market. And when customers are so price sensitive, firms believe that they cannot be both profitable and ethical. So they trade off ethics for profits. However, in this video, we'll look at why this might not be the case, but also why firms should have corporate social responsibility. So to begin with, we're going to look at key examples of unethical behaviour.
Rescue workers in the Bangladeshi capital Dhaka are continuing to hunt for survivors trapped in the wreckage of the 8-storey building which collapsed in the morning rush hour. Doctors say they simply can't cope with the sheer number of casualties. The building was on the outskirts of Dhaka in Rana Plaza in the Sava area. It housed several clothing factories, one of hundreds in a country that is the world's second biggest exporter of garments. And some of the companies importing those clothes from those factories include British high street names such as Primark. Our Asia correspondent John Sparks reports.
This mangled pile was home to 4 textile factories and a shopping mall. But at 8:30 this morning, the structure began to shake. Pillars snapped, the floors collapsed, and the world went dark, said one. It's thought there were 2,000 people inside at the time. A huge crowd gathered in this suburb of the Bangladeshi capital, Dhaka, as workers used rolls of fabric to make their escape. Others pitched in, searching for survivors, working together to carry them out. Many simply waited and prayed for their loved ones.
My wife went to work this morning and I've been looking for her, but I can't find her anywhere.
At least 113 people have died and more than 700 have been injured, and the death toll is expected to rise. Young children may have been left in a number of creches located in the building, and locals say scores of people, perhaps hundreds, are still trapped inside.
I went into the building. I saw a lot of people stuck inside. I rescued some, but many can't get out.
This catastrophe raises difficult questions for officials and company bosses. Locals say cracks appeared in the building yesterday. It was even reported on television stations. But the factory supervisors said it was safe to work. Poor safety conditions were highlighted last November when 112 lost their lives in a fire at another facility. When the alarm sounded, managers told employees to continue working because it was only a drill. Clothes bound for US giants Walmart and Sears were found in the charred remains, and campaigners criticised them for failing to protect workers, although both firms blame their suppliers for using the factory without their permission. Today's disaster is unlikely to slow a booming industry, which thrives on the world's lowest labour costs. We were working, still working when it collapsed, he said. British retailer Primark confirmed that one of its suppliers occupied the second floor of this complex. It said it was encouraging the industry to improve standards. This evening, Onlookers said they could hear people trapped on the inside, reciting their prayers, summoning their strength for the hours and days ahead.
Well, in that statement tonight, the retailer Primark said the company is shocked and deeply saddened by this appalling incident at Sava near Dhaka and expresses its condolences to all of those involved. Primark has been engaged for several years with NGOs and other retailers to review the Bangladeshi industry's approach to factory standards. Primark will push for this review to also include building integrity.
So this was an incident in 2013 where suppliers for big brands such as Primark were involved. So companies like Primark, who offer very cheap prices, therefore require cheap supplies. And often they outsource to developing countries with cheaper operational and labour costs. However, in this instance, the working conditions were ridiculously dangerous. So even though the suppliers were to blame, it is still considered to be unethical of Primark, as it was their responsibility to check on the ethics when procuring these suppliers. They should have had the corporate social responsibility to make sure suppliers were treating workers well and not putting their lives at risk. At the time, it was Primark's brand name that received the negative headlines, and therefore if a firm is considered to be unethical or associated with unethical behaviour, the negative media publicity can also be very detrimental to that firm. Primark will always be associated with this tragedy. So we will consider Primark again later on, but now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be moving on to Starbucks and other multinational firms. And we're going to be looking at another example of unethical behaviour, but this time related to tax avoidance.
They're among the biggest global brands, Google, Starbucks and Amazon. And today they found themselves before a committee of MPs to answer accusations about why they pay so little tax in the UK. It's part of a wider inquiry by the Commons Public Accounts Committee into tax avoidance, as Simon Gompertz reports.
In the MP's firing line are three American multinationals, Google, Starbucks and Amazon, with big sales in the UK who don't seem to pay much tax. Their first target was Starbucks. It's been accused of telling investors it was doing well in the UK, but reporting losses, so hardly any corporation tax was due. The members of the Public Accounts Committee said this simply didn't ring true.
I mean, you're either running the business very badly, or there's some fiddle going on.
It seems to me that this is a system specifically designed to avoid tax.
We clearly are not aggressively looking to avoid tax or looking to avoid tax on any structure anywhere. We have had profitability challenges, very sincere ones, unfortunately, that we're not pleased with. But it is nothing, I assure you, nothing to do with any tax avoidance.
Starbucks had sales of £398 million last year and paid zero corporation tax, even though the standard rate is 24%, while Google's UK sales were £395 million and it paid £6 million in tax. And Amazon, on sales of over £3 billion, it says it paid £1.8 million in UK corporation tax last year. How do they do it? With perfectly legal loopholes. One is to transfer money to an operation overseas and take the profits there, and the other to base the business in another country, so that's where the customers' payments are sent. The committee accused Amazon of eliminating most of its UK corporation tax bill by putting its European head office in Luxembourg.
Your entire activity is here, yet you pay no tax here, and that really riles us.
Amazon pleaded that it did at least pay other taxes.
We have paid in excess of 100 million in payroll taxes in the last 5 years. We've paid tens of millions in business rates.
And Google, it's based its business in Ireland.
First, let me say, we pay the tax we're required to pay in every country in which we operate, including the UK.
Depends where you choose to put the business, doesn't it? Depends where you choose to put the business. So, this is what all this afternoon is about.
So a roasting from MPs, but it's not clear what difference it'll all make. Unless the rules are changed, multinationals are likely to carry on paying as little tax as they have to. Simon Gompertz, BBC News.
So companies like Starbucks, who operate in countries all over the globe, were accused in 2012 for tax avoidance. Now, to begin with, it's important to know the difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion. Tax evasion is illegal. However, tax avoidance is legal but considered to be unethical. So now companies such as Starbucks, Google and Amazon found legal loopholes to avoid paying tax. For example, declaring sales in countries with low corporation tax rates and expenses in countries with high corporation tax rates. This meant that because they were a multinational corporation, their profitability was maximised by finding those global loopholes. Now, this is considered unfair because, of course, they are generating such massive turnover but paying little tax to our government, whilst customers are paid income tax on their salaries and contributing towards the system. These massive profitable companies were not. So again, due to protests and negative publicities, companies such as Starbucks did offer to contribute, but by many it was seen as too little, too late. Now, I said we'd return to Primark.
The goods that are coming now is really affecting our business.
This is a major graveyard for fast fashion waste. Years of dumping Western cast-offs and plastics have created this environmental nightmare.
You can't take it out. You have to dig. It's buried. It's stuck. Wow. Some of these clothes are polyester and I would say synthetic fabrics. That also go into the waterway and chokes the fish and the marine life in there. The fashion industry actually loses $500 billion a year due to fashion waste. And we need to really mobilize to get all these production and manufacturing companies internationally to commit to how this will be disposed of.
So many high street retailers such as Primark are offering very cheap clothing due to the demand from customers for fast fashion. Customers are wanting to shop more frequently for a large range of outfits, and Primark and companies like Primark are affording them the opportunity. Now, these clothes have a very short life cycle and end up being donated to developing countries. However, they have no use due to the poor quality and end up in landfills, causing issues of waste and harm to the environment. It is the high street's responsibility to avoid producing such poor quality goods and care more about sustainability. Now, the final example of unethical behaviour relates to the treatment of workers.
JD Sports sells high-end sportswear brands at premium prices. Last year's turnover, £1.8 billion. Tonight, we reveal the reality behind JD Sports' stunning success.
No, it's not working. Prisoners get more free respect.
An army of hundreds of minimum wage workers pushed to their limit. continually fearing the sack. Working like machines.
The fight's been kicked out of them. They don't think anybody's on their side. I think they're treated like scum.
The company calls this place a first-rate facility. Workers have called it a prison. They must scan their fingerprints when they arrive, and again when they leave. And each side have closely monitored break times. Our reporter is on 12-hour shifts, 6 to 6. Every worker has a target. Everyone's performance is on display. Assist agency workers answer to JD Sports supervisors. Bosses who bark at them to work harder.
So Sports Direct are another company who have been accused of working their workers as if they were in an old Victorian workhouse. Treatment of workers is terrible and inhumane. JD Sports was searching their workers every day, suspecting them of stealing with no reason to. Sports Direct would force workers to attend work early just to get searched without pay. So workers feared losing their jobs. They had strike systems and could be given a strike for the smallest of reasons, such as simply going to the toilet, sitting down, chewing gum, or maybe not having the right uniform. JD Sports, for example, gave you 3 strikes and then you were sacked. This treatment of workers, again, at this time, might not have been breaking the law, especially due to the use of 0 contracts, again, at this specific time, which before government intervention meant workers had less rights and therefore exploited. So it's also worth pointing out that sometimes these examples of poor business ethics, it does force government into action and it does force them to actually create legislation to stop it from happening. But at this time, there was no legislation. So in all these examples, they were investigated by the media and it was made public knowledge. And it's important to consider this quote by Warren Buffett. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. Now it's worth remembering that companies have proven to be successful and profitable whilst being ethical. They've been able to segment their market towards customers with an interest in ethical causes. They've been able to use their ethics in marketing, which again has helped to improve and build their reputation. Furthermore, it allows them to charge higher prices, adding value, as it's justified due to the ethical nature of the product, whether that's more sustainable material or fair trade working conditions for its suppliers. It can give them a competitive advantage. And so I'm going to end this video with 2 adverts which tap into good business ethics to advertise their goods.
Ah, trees. Morning. As MD of Velvet, I love the environment, especially trees. With no trees, birds have nowhere to land. Whoops. Plant 3 over there. Oh, what's Donkey doing there? 3 down here. And we couldn't make our soft triple velvet. That's why for every tree we use, we plant 3 more big beautiful trees. Let's go. Whoa. Triple velvet. Soft, soft, soft.
Know that when you choose Velvet, we replace 3 trees for every 1 we use. That's right, trees popping up all over the place. Look, trees! That's a mighty 3 million trees because of you. So let's keep going. Keep choosing luxuriously soft, soft, soft velvet, and we'll keep planting those wonderful, wonderful trees. Velvet, luxury for you, trees for the planet.
Rangtan in my bedroom and I don't know what to do. She plays with all my teddies and keeps borrowing my shoe. She destroys all of my houseplants and she keeps on shouting ooh. She throws away my chocolate and she howls at my shampoo. There's a Rangtan in my bedroom and I don't want her to stay. So I told the naughty Rangtan that she had to go away. Oh, Rangtan in my bedroom, just before you go, why were you in my bedroom? I really want to know. There's a human in my forest and I don't know what to do. He destroyed all of our trees for your food and your shampoo.
There's a human in my forest and I don't know what to do. He took away my mother and I'm scared he'll take me too. There are humans in my forest and I don't know what to do. They're burning it for palm oil. So I thought I'd stay with you. Orangutan in my bedroom. Now I do know what to do. I'll fight to save your home and I'll stop you feeling blue. I'll share your story far and wide so others can fight too. Orangutan in my bedroom, I swear it on the stars. The future's not yet written, but I'll make sure it is ours.